Yo, what's up everybody? It's Fortenox here, back with another video. In today's video, this is going to be the behind the beat for my latest song called Reminisce. Now, I know there was no behind the beat for Vacation. I sincerely apologize for that. That song had a lot of technical difficulties and there was a lot of corrupting and a lot of breaking that happened in that project. It had to be moved to a bunch of projects. However, I do have the mix down project for that song, so it's just like all of the stems for Vacation in a mixing FL project. So if you guys want to see how I mixed that song, let me know, because I might make a video on that. I won't make a video on it if you guys don't want to see it, but however, this is the video for Reminisce, and I will be walking you guys through how I made it today. So if you guys are ready, please make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to my channel, and let's get right into it. Starting off with the drums. Guess we could start off with like these drums here. This happens in the build up, and it's basically the part where the drums, or where the kick drum kind of does this weird pattern here, so I'll play that. So yeah, it just does that. And then in the drop, obviously it's just 4 on the floor, basics, and then I'll slowly start unmuting some of the elements so you can start to hear kind of how I put this together. And that's all of the drums. That's all that's going on here. And then we have a drum fill sample right here. This is from a Vengeance sample pack. It's the short fill 12 from Vengeance. I think that's third volume. Vengeance EDM 3. Yes, it is. And yeah, so special thanks to Fastpace for sending me the sample pack. Really appreciate it. Okay, so let's start walking you guys through how I made the intro, because we just went through the drums. Now let's walk through the intro. So what's going on here? There's actually not a lot going on here. We got some piano chords which sound like this. So they're supposed to be, they're kind of sad chords, so it's weird because I chose a pretty sad key for this song, but however the melody is pretty happy, so it kind of works in a weird way. So here's what I did for the chords. We have the C, which is the, like, I guess the high note which plays in this chord progression, so it goes C, 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 B. So that's all that's going on in the top part here, and then for the filler chords, we have all these different notes here. So I made it go, so I wanted like a rhythm that was like da na 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 na, something like that. So that's how I did this. Now it's really hard to explain kind of what my thought process was for these chords, because really I just kind of went with what sounded good, and then I placed these notes on top, which really made a huge difference. Here's how it sounds with them. I'll just play it from the beginning here. And then here's without them. So it instantly loses a lot of feel without these notes here. So that's why I did that. And then for the bass, or for the pluck, I mean, it's very simple. You get C, whatever this note is, and it kind of jumps around on the octave. So here's how this sounds. This is a Serum preset. So it's pretty much following the bass line, which the bass line is actually a little bit different, but it kind of follows the same kind of idea. It's in the same key, but this is how it sounds. Gotta love the distorted vinyl sound design. So anyway, that's the bass line, and then we have a sub bass here. This is like a, actually no, this is like a kind of a respace, but also a sub bass at the same time. And here's how this sounds. So it's got a lot of low end on it. That's just to give it more bass. And then we have our choppy chords, which sound like this. And altogether, that pretty much builds up the intro. And of course, we have a filter automation on, I believe, the bass line. Yeah, so it's on the bass line. Okay. Alright, so for this part, we still have our same pluck here. Keeping the same rhythm. We have our piano chords. And now let's talk about the melody. So we have my favorite signature pluck, Pluck Agudo. I don't use this much anymore, but for this track I thought it would work very nicely. So this is a Serum, or sorry, not Serum, this is a Silent stock plugin, and it's a preset in Silent, or not, I keep saying Silent. It is in Citrus. If you guys have ever used Citrus, it is called Pluck Agudo, and it is from Citrus. So anytime I say Silent or Serum, just know that I mean Citrus. Anyway, so this is the pluck sound for the melody. Now you've probably noticed that this song is probably very heavily inspired by NCS and Electronomia, because he likes to have these melodies that kind of hover on one note and then kind of climb down. So that's kind of what I did here, because this melody, you can see that it starts on this note, which is it's not the root note. I would say probably the root note would most likely be E. So I'm not sure of the key. I'm really not, but it starts on this note, then it kind of just goes downhill from there. And then this part, it kind of hovers around E a little bit more and then goes down near the end. So this is how the entire melody sounds with this piece of variety at the end here. That's the whole melody. It's also being layered with this other pluck here, which is also from Serum. That's what's giving it so much energy. So this is from from Citrus, and this is from Serum. And all together, they sound really good together. These plucks are very similar, except this one's more louder and has a lot more stuff. But together, they sound like this. That way you get more of that click. And of course, we have our chop chords. These are from Vital. And those are sound designed by me. We have our bass line. Yeah, I already showed you guys that. And then we have a chop clap sample from Kashmir. Just sounds like that. And that's played throughout the whole build-up. Then we have more chop chords down here. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire intro. And now we're moving on to the build-up, which sounds like this. Alright, so we'll walk you guys through this. So we are going to go from left to right in this whole song, so we already talked about the intro. Now we're going to the build-up, and then we're going to talk about the drop. So what we have here is the kick drum, like I showed you. It goes like this. And that's just to give it more bounce, because what we have here is we have these chop chords playing. And they're being automated by these filter automations, which sound really nice together. And I guess I'll unmute the sub as well. Yeah, and then meanwhile, after that part happens, we have our piano chords. another bass line. That's the main drop bass. It's also being automated, I believe. Yeah, I don't think that one's being automated. But yeah, then we have our clap sample, oh, whoops, kind of playing as well. And all together, it sounds like this, because I wanted to start it off with the chop chords and then just slowly progress. And then we do have some effects here to give it more power. This one's an impact, and this one, it's kind of like a crowd noise impact, and then this one we have a crash, just a basic big crash. And yeah, and then for this part, the second part of the build-up, we have a build-up snare sample. This one's from Vengeance, the same sample pack. And that's the whole sample. And then what we also have is some effects. We have a uplifter. We have a tonal riser. We have our chop chords, or our piano chords. Sub drop. You can't really hear that without headphones. And then we have our melody, which is also fading in with the rest of the song. Actually, it's not fading in here for some reason. Oh yeah, because it's really quiet with everything else that's happening. So this is just one of the layers from the drop, playing with everything. More chop chords. Bass line. Or respace, whatever you want to call it. And that's pretty much it. All together you get all of this madness. Oh yeah, and then for right here, I did something a little bit unique here. We took the last parts of the melody with all of the different layers from the drop, and then we put them under a cutoff frequency love filter automation, which makes them sound like this. For now, I am just going to move these out of the way for now. And that kind of gives it the woo 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 woo, kind of just whooshes in. We also have a big snare here, just to let you know that something's gonna hit right away. It's gonna go ba ba ba, and then that's where the big bass drop happens. Alright, so let's talk about the drop. Obviously, I already showed you guys. We have 4 on the floor snare. This is very common in progressive house. Very simple. We also have a snare hitting on the 2 and the 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Yeah, it's not 128, it's 120. It's a bit of a slower one. We have our drum fill here. Then we have some ride cymbals, I think. Oh, that's just some hi-hat automation, or some hi-hat ambience. We have chop chords number 1, chop chords number 2, chop chords number 3, and all together. We have our bass line number 1, bass line number 2, and we have melody 1. This is only 3 layers. This is layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and all together. Then we have a ride here. Some effects, like the impact and my signature clap sample from Kashmir. And as well as this impact right here. And all together. And with everything from the drop, you get something that should sound like this in theory. Alright, so I'm not really going to talk about this much, but basically we have the cutoff frequency automation. Just kind of giving the, like, the woo 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 woo, just kind of fades in the second part, just to let you know that it's this is kind of just letting you know that, hey, the drop's about to end, we're halfway through. Just giving it a bit more variety. And then once the drop ends, you're hit with this, which is the pluck from before. It's a Nexus preset. So this is one of the layers from the melody, and it is automated by a love filter, which is kind of letting you know that, hey, we're about to enter a different area of the song. Then we have a snap here just to say, hey, we're moving on. Because and when you're making EDM, you kind of want to have stuff that kind of talks to you, if that makes sense. So when you're making electronic music, one important thing to keep in mind is you want to tell a story, right? You want to have everything in the track be intentional. You want to have everything be like, when you're entering a new area of the song, you want to let the listener know that that's about to happen. And that's what this is kind of telling you. That's going to be like, hey, we're entering a new area of the song, so don't be caught off guard. And then this just suddenly hits you. So this is pretty sudden, but it's not as sudden as it would be without this, because this is letting you know that this is going to happen, right? Because if that's not there, it just jumps into it and it catches you off guard completely. However, you know that you're supposed to expect something when you hear this. So that's the whole point there. And then I wanted to bring in some more variety, so I kind of changed the genre a little bit. It's kind of more, I want to say like future bass kind of, because I chopped the chords here and made a different drum pattern. So this is how that sounds. Okay, so here are the drums on their own. It's just a kick and the snare. So it's kind of like a half-timey pattern, but it's not really half-time. Kind of is, I guess. And then with that, we have the chords here, which are chopped up like this. Of course, we have our chop chords here as well, kind of playing in the second half of it. Then we have our respace, as well as our signature sound here from Kashmir. And all together, you get this. So yeah, that's the breakdown. And then it kind of switches up here. After the halftime, it goes into full time again. And then we're back into the build-up for drop number 2, which is pretty much the same except for some more variety in the beginning of the drop. Again, we have our pluck, which gets reintroduced after the first drop. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then once we enter in the second build-up, which I'll just play from here just so that you guys don't have to hear the same thing again. And then I'll talk about kind of what I did, which is very simple. Okay, so what I did here is it's very simple. I didn't automate the frequency. I kept it the same because I wanted it to be like a fake drop. I didn't want it to be like I didn't like the sound of that, because here's what it would sound like if I would have done that. I'm just gonna do this and then you'll hear what I mean. So that doesn't sound bad, but the reason why I didn't like that is because I wanted it to catch you off guard here for the second part of the drop, because I wanted to be like, oh, drums aren't gonna happen yet, and then they hit you. I didn't want it to be so obvious, right? So that's why I didn't want the cutoff frequency here. So that's what it's telling you. It's telling you that we're entering the second drop. Here's the fake out, and then it gets straight to the point. And that's pretty much it. At the end of the song, we have a little outro, which is pretty much, which is pretty basic. We get a respace, And then we have this sample that gets introduced for the first time at the end of the song here. This is from a Taka music sample pack that I won in a giveaway. We have our chop chords again, our bass line, then we have our snaps as well, which are drowned in reverb, our pluck, our main pluck, and our normal piano chords, as well as our melody plucks here as well, which we started the song with. Now, because these instruments are the same, they're kind of trying to fight for room in the mix, and they're kind of like fighting a little bit because they're the same sound. But now that wouldn't necessarily be something you would want to do in a song. I'm gonna say that you probably shouldn't do this. I did it because personally I liked the sound of it. Maybe there could have been a better way to go about this method, but personally I would not recommend doing what I did here. Do not overlay two different patterns of the same sound. Please don't do it unless it's a different sound that doesn't, unless it's a sound that doesn't compete with each other. Because this is a competing sound, right? Because this is the pluck that is overpowering. Because it just stays on one note on the offbeat. And then you have this, which is kind of complementing, well, not complementing, but it's competing with it. So there's a difference between complementary and competitivity, because what happens here is when you have two sounds that are the same, this is the last time I'm explaining it, it competes, and you don't want that, because here's what it sounds like together. So you can hear it kind of fighting with like, what do I do? So that's what's happening. Personally, I like how it sounds like this. However, I would not recommend doing it. Anyway, that is the walkthrough for Reminisce. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section below, and I will try to answer all of your questions to the best of my ability. So if you guys want to see more behind the beats, please let me know down in the comments as well. Let me know if you guys like them, what you think of them, and if they're helpful to you. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the behind the beat for Reminisce. I will see you guys very soon with a brand new video or song. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.